Good day and welcome back to the Family Cyber Clinic, where we discuss all things cyber. On this channel, we also endeavor, to share the cyber threats that are lurking around us, especially on the internet. Today, as hinted during the clinic news last week, we're going to be discussing social engineering. Yes, you heard me right, social engineering, and how successful attacks are gathering momentum in our ever-changing cyber world in 2019. I gave us some homework last week. I particularly asked you to go out and find out what social engineering actually meant. And I hope you engaged your family and friends as I admonished you to do. Yeah, you did it? Okay, good stuff. So let's see if your definition aligns with what I define social engineering to mean. And remember that we're only talking about it as it relates to information security. Your data, my data. Okay, social engineering or human hacking is the use of deception to manipulate individuals into divulging confidential or personal information that may be used for fraudulent purposes. Yeah, lots of words, but ideally, every word there is exactly what it means. So it's human hacking. It's the use of deception to manipulate individuals into divulging personal information that is dear to them, confidential information that may be used for fraudulent purposes. Another definition that I found that you probably have listed is just finding flaws in human nature and exploiting them. And that's as straightforward as it goes. Social engineering is not just common. As I mentioned, I said in March 2019 that it was becoming prevalent. But it's also becoming increasingly sophisticated. So the crooks, the rogues, I choose to call them, are getting smarter. They're devising clever methods for fooling us into handing over valuable personal information. And it's happening on a day-to-day basis. I released a blog, I think it was yesterday or day before yesterday, on the Family Cyber Clinic's website. And there I highlighted that social engineering involves email or other communications that invokes urgency, fear, or similar emotions in the victim, leading the victim, you and I potentially, to promptly reveal sensitive information. And you could do that by clicking a malicious link or opening a malicious file. It is really it's a huge bother. It's not something that we can ignore. It's certainly not something that the clinic is ignoring, hence the reason why we're sharing it. Okay? So social engineering involves the human element, you and I. And you know how you and I are. And that just makes these attacks incredibly difficult. At this time though, the clinic will be sharing some practical tips to help us recognize social engineering attempts and generally avoid the hurt and havoc that they can cause us, and all those connected to us. But like we do each week, before I go into the tips, I would love those who are visiting this platform for the first time to subscribe. I keep saying subscribe and I sound like a stock record. But seriously, the channel is only as rich as its subscribers, and it will be nice if you're visiting with us for the first time that you subscribe, and click the bell so that valuable content like this will hit your inbox the moment it's uploaded. And the uploads happen each week. Of course, I would like you to like and share with your family and friends so that they will benefit also from this content. Okay? It's very valuable content. A lot of work has gone into getting this information to you. So it'd be nice to share it with your friends and family. the truth setting you free. Okay, so we go right in. Just remember to subscribe, okay? All right. So I'm going to share several tips. I think I'm not getting the 5 or the 9 vibe this week. So I'm going to share several. I think they're up to 7, and I'll go through them quite quickly. Again, I'm looking to reduce the length of these videos, not substantially, but just enough so that you are not bored listening or watching. I just want you to get the information, head on. Okay, so the first one, and I don't think many of us are doing this. There was, when things were not so wireless, we used to endeavor to take backups of our data, the data that we had on our smartphones. You plug a cable and, do all that stuff to the computer. So these days we don't bother. Thankfully, we have systems now that allow you to wirelessly or remotely back up to the cloud. So if you're not doing that, check that you are backing up your data to the cloud. And if that's too much or it's too big for you, then at least back up your data onto a removable drive so that you have it duplicated. I say that and you'll find out why I'm saying that backups are important, okay? So the first tip is back up all your data as much as possible in your computer, your tablet, or your smartphones so that you have a copy. A secondary copy somewhere. The second tip, do not open emails in the spam folder. Your junk mail folder, typically mail that has funny behavior or that are suspect go into a spam folder or your junk mail folder. And if that's the case, that's a good thing. Your mailbox is quarantining the bad emails. But what we're finding is that people are going into their spam folder to actually look through those emails. And that couldn't be, that's worrying, really. Because they're in the junk folder or the spam folder for a reason. They are suspect emails, full of nasties, my favorite word. And you've got to stay away from them, okay? Do not open attachments in emails, from your spam folder or from emails from an unknown origin. If you don't know the person, don't open the email. Stay away from unknown emails. Okay, that's our second tip. Our third tip, I mentioned that backing up your data is quite important. I mentioned also, if you look at the videos in the playlist in the card, the YouTube card up there, you find I mentioned ransomware. Ransomware would be when you've clicked a link, maybe knowingly or unknowingly, and you find that this link has caused malware to run riot on your system. And by doing that, it encrypts all the files in your system. And to gain access to your original files, you have to pay a ransom. And the advice from the channel, advice from the clinic is that you should not pay the ransom. I know some of us love our data so much, and quite rightly so, but paying the ransom, that's why the criminals keep coming. They keep using this form of blackmail to get us, to keep paying. So if you pay, everybody else, they just imagine that others will pay and they keep going. So there are special engineers in the market that can help retrieve your data. And if that's not possible, remember, if you get into the habit of backing up your files, if you backed up your files or folders before the ransomware took hold, you still have backed up data. So don't rush. No matter what they say, don't rush to pay the ransom. Of course, it's each to their own, but the advice from the clinic is that you should not pay the ransom. The fourth tip, use reputable antivirus software. We've always recommended the best, and the best free and the best in my humble view. So the clinic recommends Sophos that has a free version that families can use, but you must have reputable antivirus software installed. So if you don't do the Sophos, at least do McAfee, Norton Symantec, or Kaspersky. You know, there are others that I've not mentioned, but these are the three that I've mentioned and I can vouch for. But the one the clinic recommends is Sophos. Okay? Fifth tip. If it's too good to be true, then it probably is. So don't download programs from unknown sources. Yeah, they'll tell you click here and you get a lifetime subscription, or click here and then if you get the software, you're also going to get a lot of money. All those things are bogus. So you've got to stay away from them. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. Okay, tip 6. Now, it needs some explanation. Do not use easy to find questions when securing your access to portals. You know, when you create passwords, you're usually told to create what's called a password hint. And that's supposed to help you remember the password that you set. You know, some may ask, what was your first dog's name? What's your best food? What's your mother's maiden name? What's your wife's name? What's your wife's birth date? You know, these things, believe it or not, are these things are easily guessable. You know, and some of it is in the public domain already. So by creating password hints or giving out information that can easily be retrieved means that you are giving hackers a head start, you know? And the first thing that the hacker would request when they are targeting you is a reset of your password, particularly for your email. And the idea there is that if they can crack your email password, all the resets will come to your mailbox. So they have access and they can see it, you know? So it's important, absolutely important, that you don't make it easy for the hackers to, you know, do damage. Yeah? Worrying times, I know, but it's the sign of the times. The clinic is just designed to help you. You know, it's so much bother, but happily and thankfully, I'm giving you this information so you know what to do. All right, the last tip is always use strong passwords. And if you look at the card, I've already spoken about this. You must use strong passwords. As I mentioned earlier, the hacker will target your mail account. And once they crack your mail account, wow, you use your mail account for most of your portal access across social media platforms. So it's important that you get this habit of creating strong and complex passwords so that these guys will just, get fed up and leave you alone. You and I alone. Okay? So check the video in the cards, as I mentioned, for more information on how to set strong passwords. So common things associated with a social engineer. They always try so hard to gain your trust. They appear very friendly, and persuasive, convincing. So you should stay away from them. Stay away from those emails that are too good to be true. I hope those have given you, a head start on how you can progress and how you can prevent these guys in their tracks. Okay. Now, so that you know these things are real, I'm inclined to give you some examples of successful attacks, and I'm hoping, really hoping, if you're just getting this today, it's quite hot. Hence the reason why I'm cleaning my face. So I'm going to give you some examples, not how you can social engineer someone, but just successful attacks that I'm aware of, and they are so beautifully done. Okay, so accessing someone's account online. I watched it on a YouTube video. Basically, this woman actually, an ethical hacker, visited a man who was in his office and said that I bet you I can gain access to your video portal, for argument's sake, your Blockbuster account or your Netflix account. I can gain access. And the man doubts her and she says, okay, these are the two things I'm going to do. And these are the two things that this woman presented to the person she was speaking to on the other side. I'm not suggesting it's Netflix. I have to use a video portal, okay, so that you don't think Netflix's security is bad. So a video portal, okay. Two things she presented. She played a clip, basically on her laptop before she made the call. She played a clip of a baby crying in the background. A clip. There was no baby. She played a clip, I keep saying click, a clip of a baby crying in the background before she made the call. And all she had with her, on her, from that man's details, was his email address. Email address and a clip playing of a baby crying in the background. Those are the only two things. And she got the man's attention. The baby crying would mean, and then think of it this way. She plays the clip, and as she's saying, as she's speaking to the guy, she's telling the guy that her husband has told her to access the account. And she's forgotten some crucial details. But my baby's crying. My baby's crying. Let me attend to her. But please, you've got. Do you have the email address? The email address I have is, and she gives the email address. And this guy commits. First of all, the woman has used the power of persuasion or the power of empathy, getting him to empathize with the fact that she was having a crying baby and that her world was falling apart. And he was doing everything possible to help her on her journey to hack her husband's account. And while she was at it, she said when she succeeded, she told the man that whilst you're on it, can you add me to the account so that I don't have to do this in the future? And the man obliged. Frightening stuff. But that's her cleverly using the power of persuasion and empathy. With very little detail, she was able to access someone's account. Yeah. That's the first example. The second example, and this is also quite rampant. I mentioned that, or actually I didn't mention, I just hinted. But you know, when you visit sites that are pirating videos or shows, Game of Thrones, live matches from Arsenal and Manchester United, click here, all those things are bogus. They're bogus, and there's so many signs that will give it away that the area you're going into is risky and dangerous. You see illicit content, inappropriate content, spam, they're just getting, it's like a dungeon. So you're trying to access the Game of Thrones, or you're trying to access a live game for free. That is very attractive to the rogue. The rogue can easily, behind that click here, put malware, malicious code that once you click will do something. And that's the danger we face. Those offers are very convincing. Oftentimes, you may even have a pleasant experience when you first click on it. They're very gentle. They draw you in, get you very comfortable, and then they start the work, the bad work. Very subtly get you to get hooked. In fact, they may even give you the first match for free, and true to their word, they give you the live game between Man City and Arsenal. Because you've experienced the success, human, you go back. And that's when they pounce, collecting your information, personal information, and doing havoc to you even whilst you sleep. I think that's pretty much covered social engineering. There are lots of other things that are happening, but I thought that would be quite useful for you. Okay? Okay? All right. Like we do every week. Today, we're going to be discussing vision. Notice I didn't say fishing. This is vision with a V. And you ask, what is vision? It's the fraudulent practice of making phone calls or leaving voice messages purporting to be from reputable companies in order to induce individuals to reveal personal information, such as bank card details and credit card numbers. Yes. And I got a call a week ago from HM Customs, from a number from Manchester, 0161, telling me that basically accusing me of tax fraud, or tax evasion, everything tax in 20 whenever they mentioned, and that if I didn't pay £4,000 or so, that I would my assets would be frozen, my house mortgage and all that, everything would just go dead if I didn't pay up. And I am the cyber one. Imagine the horror. And they do it to get you to be hopelessly in need of their assistance, get you to a place of despair so that you do something urgently about it. And they're succeeding. They're succeeding. The vulnerable are being targeted. If you don't know, and that's why the clinic is doing what it's doing, if you don't know, they pounce. So that's the clinic news. Be aware of calls from reputable companies accuse you of stuff that you've done on the tax front. Basically, the one that the reputable companies HM and Customs. That's the recent one. And they will call. They will leave a voicemail at first, and then have you called urgently. And when you call, that's when they pounce. That's the clinic news. Not very good news, but news all the same. And the PowerPoint for this week. A wise man will hear and increase in learning, and a man of understanding will acquire wise counsel. I'm your host, Cyber Pastor Lawrence Edem. God bless and goodbye.